People always ask me why I smiled when I signed those divorce papers, like I wasn't grieving a 6-year marriage or a 10-year friendship. But nobody knew I'd already watched them betray me in the most disgusting way possible. And the sickest pate, I'm the one who set the trap they walked right into. But before you judge how far I went, you need to know how deep this knife went first. Because once upon a time, I would have died for both of them. And they knew that if you had asked me 3 years ago who my person was, I would have said Sarah before I ever said my husband's name. That's how close we were. She wasn't just my best friend, she was my human diary, my hype woman, my emergency contact, my maid of honor, and the only person who knew I once wanted 3 kids, but told everyone I wanted to, because my husband didn't like odd numbers. Yeah, that level is close. Sarah and I met sophomore year in college, at a coffee shop, bonding over our mutual hatred for statistics class, and the fact that the barista spelled both our names wrong. She was the loud one, the life of the party, the one who always dared me to do the stupid thing I secretly wanted to do. Marry the guy, buy the shoes, cut the bangs. She was that friend. And at first, I thought she made my relationship better. She adored my husband well, my future husband, long before I ever suspected. She adored him in a different way. She'd tease him, hype him up, make jokes like, "God, if you don't marry her, I will." It sounds cute until hindsight pulls the curtain. My husband, Evan, was the opposite of loud. He was warm, golden retriever energy with dimples you could fall into and a way of listening that made you believe you were the only person in the world who mattered. He'd trace circles into my hand when he thought I was anxious. He'd kiss me on the forehead just because. He'd tell me he loved watching me more than any movie. We were that couple people rolled their eyes at because we were nauseatingly sweet. And Sarah was right there through all of it, helping with proposals, tasting cake samples, screaming louder than my mom when I picked my dress. Wedding photos showed the 3 of us smiling like a toothpaste commercial. I used to think the universe must have loved me a little extra to give me a husband and a best friend who got along that well. But here's the part I never told anyone. If the universe gives you everything you ever wanted to easily, it usually snuck a price tag somewhere you can't see yet, and I missed every sign. Because at first, it was just comfort. Sarah would crash at our place when she broke up with her boyfriend, which happened a lot. Evan would make her breakfast because he felt bad for her. We'd all watch movies, drink wine, laugh about dumb college stories. It became normal, routine, tradition. Then came the little things like the inside jokes I wasn't part of anymore, or the way they'd text each other memes without sending them to me, or how Sarah started complimenting him more than she complimented me. But every time my gut whispered, "That's weird," my brain shushed it like a toddler in a movie theater. Because why would I be suspicious of the 2 people I trusted most? Trust makes you blind in the ugliest way possible. The betrayal doesn't hurt because you fell for a lie. The betrayal hurts because the truth made you question every good memory attached to it. The first seed of doubt was planted at a dinner party. We were at our friend's house, 8 people, long table, wine everywhere. Evan was telling some dumb story about how he once parallel parked so badly the car looked like it got placed there by a crane. Everyone laughed, including me. But then I caught it just for half a second, the look Sarah gave him. It wasn't, haha, that's funny. It was soft, intimate, private, like she knew that story before he ever told it. And maybe she did, and maybe I should have asked how. But I didn't, because you don't question a best friend and a husband over a 2-second glance. At least, not yet. The real twist of that night didn't hit me until later, after the jokes and the dessert and the drive home. I replayed the evening in my head and realized something chilling. Whenever Sarah laughed, Evan looked at her first to see if she was laughing. Not me, not our other friends. Her. It was a microsecond. A reflex, the kind you don't notice unless you're paying attention. And I wasn't, at least not then. But the brain is messy. It stores weird data for later. And that moment became important, very important down the line. Back then, I chalked it up to paranoia. I even told Sarah. I literally texted her. "Lil, tell me why it looked like you and Evan were flirting last night." She answered instantly. "Girl, what? You're insane. I would never." 3 crying, laughing emojis. The perfect deflection. And I believed her, because when someone you love tells you that you're overthinking, you don't assume they're lying. You assume you're broken. By The end of that year, the three of us were practically a unit. Trips, birthdays, football games. We even joked about moving into matching houses like some sitcom. I thought it was sisterhood. I thought it was love. I thought I had one in life, but the universe doesn't hand out wins without demanding blood later, and it was collected. What I didn't know then, what I couldn't have even imagined, was that the dinner party wasn't the start of their affair. It was the night they stopped hiding it. And the worst part, they made me the punchline. Here's the thing nobody tells you about being betrayed by two people at the same time. It doesn't start with lies. It starts with laughter, their laughter, and then slowly, your silence. After that dinner party, I kept trying to shake off the weirdness. I didn't want to be the insecure wife, or worse, the jealous best friend, so I ignored the itch. But the itch didn't ignore me. It showed up in small ways first, like how Sarah started canceling our girls' nights. And it wasn't for good reasons, she'd say. She was exhausted, or working late, or just not feeling it. But then I'd see on her story that she was out drinking with people she used to complain about. She wasn't avoiding social life, she was avoiding me. And Evan, he got cagey in ways I didn't expect. The man who once handed me his phone to pick playlists like it was nothing, suddenly started guarding it like it contained state secrets. Not in a dramatic way, he didn't make a scene or flip it over like in the movies. He'll just keep it face down, or answer texts in another room, or deletes entire message threads because my phone was acting glitchy. And every time I'd ask, even casually, he would laugh it off. Babe, relax, not everything is a conspiracy. Well, my personal favorite, if I wanted to cheat, I'd at least be good at it. It sounded like humor. It was actually deflection. Swear gaslighting is an art form for some people. But the real turning point came one night, when I asked him why he smelled like perfume. Not like a faint ghost of perfume either. It smelled like someone had hugged him for 5 minutes and buried their face into his neck. Billy's answer, oh my God, are we doing this again? Seriously? Why do you get like this? I literally hugged Sarah, good night, relax, and that should have bothered me. But I brushed it away because he said it so casually. Like mentioning her made it less suspicious. Like their closeness was supposed to be comforting instead of threatening. But here's the part that actually stung. The next day, she called me. Not texted, not snapped. Called. Hey babe, Evan said you got a little weird last night. Are you okay? You know I'm always here for you. That I'm always here for. You felt like a knife dipped in honey. You know how humiliating it is to be reassured by the person who's betraying you? How does it make you feel needy and crazy and overdramatic all at once? That's how Sarah made me feel. Like she was the stable one, the rational one, the one who could handle both of us. And I believed her for a while, because that's the sickest part. It's not the cheating that breaks you. It's the fact that you gradually start trusting the wrong person more than yourself. That was the dynamic for months. I'd confront Evan, he'd gaslight. I'd vent to Sarah, she'd soothe. I'd blame myself, they'd bond. It was psychological warfare disguised as friendship. Then the emotional isolation started. Slowly, strategically. Evan would say things like, you're just stressed. You're so tense lately. You used to be fun. Why can't we just have peace for once? He weaponized peace. He made me feel like confronting the truth made me toxic. And Sarah, she made herself indispensable. She'd drop off coffee when I had bad days. She'd hype my outfits. She'd talk about how some women would kill for a marriage like mine. She was building a narrative. I was ungrateful for a good husband. She was just being supportive. And Evan was the victim stuck between a needy wife and a dramatic best friend. This is how people get labeled crazy when they're actually being played. The worst gaslighting moments, at least before I found proof, happened during a double date with another couple. We were at a rooftop bar, sunset behind us, perfect weather. I brought up the perfume incident jokingly, trying to make it light. Oh yeah, remember when Evan came home smelling like Sarah? Laugh, laugh, haha, trying to see how they'd react. But before Evan could say anything, Sarah grabbed my arm and said loud enough for the table to hear, oh my God, stop. She's so paranoid. Like, dude, you need to chill. Nobody's trying to steal your man. Everyone laughed. Everyone. Including Evan. I laughed too, because what else was I supposed to do? Sit there and scream that my gut was screaming? That moment changed me though. Something inside me snapped, not in a rage way, but in a cold, quiet, forensic way. Paranoia stopped feeling irrational. It started feeling like self-defense. Because once someone makes a joke out of your instincts, you either start doubting yourself or you start investigating. I chose the second, but I didn't move fast. Victims don't go detective overnight. The shift is gradual. One day you're crying in your pillow wondering what's wrong with you. The next day you're memorizing his passwords and hiding your real reactions behind smiles. I started noticing patterns. Sarah's cancelled plans always seemed to align with Evan's late nights. Their jokes were becoming inside jokes. They'd make eye contact before answering questions. They'd share glances when I told stories like they had a commentary track I wasn't invited to. The tension rose, the isolation worsened, the paranoia sharpened. Then came the night that made it undeniable. I walked into the kitchen and Evan was on the phone. His voice was low, but not low enough. He said, "No, she doesn't suspect anything." Anything. Not she doesn't suspect me. Not she doesn't suspect it. Anything. Broad, specific, loaded. When he noticed me, he hung up instantly. Not "I'll call you later," not one sec, just click. Then the classic pivot. Why are you looking at me like that? I wasn't looking at him in any kind of way. I was just standing there existing. But men who cheat see suspicion in everything, even stillness. He switched into gaslight mode so fast it could have given me whiplash. "You're seriously paranoid. This is getting embarrassing. I feel like I have to walk on eggshells around you." And there it was, the final weapon. Shame. When someone makes you feel ashamed for wanting clarity, you stop asking questions. And when you stop asking questions, they win for a while. Because what they didn't know, what they couldn't have predicted, was that shame doesn't kill suspicion. Shame fertilizes it. Because the very next day, I found the first piece of evidence. And what shocked me the most wasn't what it proved, it was how long my best friend had been preparing for the moment. I'd find it. It wasn't an accident. It was intentional. If you're watching this story, tighten your blanket and hit the like button so YouTube understands you want the next chapter unlocked, and tell me in the comments, which beautiful country are you watching from? And what's the exact time there right now? Some betrayals slap you in the face. Mine left breadcrumbs and waited for me to follow them. After that phone call incident, I didn't explode, I didn't scream, I didn't confront. I got quiet. Quiet is dangerous. Quiet means the panic is over and the strategy has started. The first piece of evidence didn't fall into my lap. It practically announced itself. It was a receipt. Just a stupid little crumpled receipt in the dryer lint tray. From a restaurant neither of us liked, dated 2 nights prior, with 2 entrees and 2 glasses of wine. It wasn't about the receipt, it was about the patterns. Sarah's migraine day, Evan's working late, same night, coincident, maybe. But paranoia doesn't work alone, it stacks. And once you start stacking, you can't stop. That receipt became my green light. I checked the phone bill, not texts, calls, late night calls, early morning calls, calls during my Pilates class, calls during lunch, calls during boys' poker night, calls during girls' brunch. Not 1,000 calls, just enough to look friendly, not enough to look appropriate. Then I checked Venmo. That's when I nearly threw up. Little transactions, drinks, lunch, Uber, coffee, a grown man sending as a payment note to my best friend. Kill me. But here's where it got spicy. I matched dates. Venmo dates aligned with canceled girls' nights, with his late work nights, with her sick days, with their inside jokes. The puzzle wasn't done, but the edges were forming. People underestimate how sloppy cheaters are with iCloud. I remembered Evan once forgot to disable shared photo syncing. When we got new phones 2 years ago, I prayed he was still that dumb. I opened the shared album and there they were. Not naked, not kissing. Worse. Pictures from places they'd never told me they went. A rooftop view, a coffee shop, a movie marquee. Random selfies that looked harmless unless you had context. I had context. Sarah's comments were, "The dagger, cute, oh my god, stop. Delete this before she kills us, brr." That's when Daniil died. That's when anger took its first breath. But I didn't confront, not yet, because evidence without timing is worthless. I needed certainty. I needed leverage. I needed the kind of proof that makes liars choke on their excuses. No, I didn't hire a private investigator. I became one. I tracked patterns. Evan showered twice a week at night instead of in the mornings. Sarah started wearing lip gloss on weekdays. Their jokes became subtler around me. Their conversations stopped when I entered the room. They didn't sit next to each other anymore. They sat across. Safer, less noticeable. Affairs don't just change actions, they change physics. The energy in the room shifts, gravity changes, the air becomes heavier, eyes don't know where to go. I wasn't imagining it, I was observing it, and then the slip. One afternoon, my phone pinged with a notification I hadn't seen in years. Shared location. Sarah updated. I didn't know she still had her location shared with me. I also didn't know that she turned it off months ago. But here's the twist. When she turned it back on, it wasn't for me, it was for Evan, because 2 minutes later, his location was updated to same neighborhood 2 blocks away. Not her house, not his office. A random residential street near neither of them. My stomach dropped. I zoomed in. They weren't 2 blocks apart, they were in the same house. I didn't confront, I screenshotted it. 10 screenshots, different angles, time-stamped, zoomed, labeled. Then I watched. 5 minutes, 10, 15, 20, no movement. You don't stay still in a house for 20 minutes unless you're sitting or lying down. That's when the paranoia morphed into something colder, the kind of cold that makes people plan things. I wasn't chasing the truth anymore. I was preparing for the kill. I waited for them to come back into my world and pretend everything was normal. Sarah texted first. Hey babe, sorry I disappeared today. Migraine again. Rain makes it worse. Lol rain. It was 85 degrees and sunny. Evan came home 2 hours later smelling like her perfume again. Vanilla musk. Girls who cheat always wear vanilla. I don't know why. He acted casual, kissed my head, asked about dinner, called me baby 3 times, overcompensating 101. I didn't react. I played stupid. I laughed at his jokes. I made pasta. I watched shows. I waited. Because now I didn't just have suspicion. I had data. Data makes betrayal measurable. But here's where the story takes its most messed up turn, the part I did not see coming. When I started going detective, Sarah started preparing to not to stop me, to discredit me. I found out because of a note in her kitchen drawer 3 weeks later when I went to borrow a wine opener. It wasn't hidden, it wasn't encrypted, it wasn't subtle, it was a folded piece of paper labeled, "If she asks." Inside were talking points. Talking points. About my mental health, about my jealousy, about how I spiral under stress, about how she and Evan were worried about me. She was pre-building the narrative. She wasn't just cheating with my husband, she was planning her legal defense. Because once I found that note, I stopped collecting evidence. I started designing a trap, not just to catch them in the act, but to make them wish they'd never met me. Some people want closure. I wanted proof and punishment. After I found Sarah's "If she asks" note, something inside me went cold. Not sad, not scared. Cold. And cold people are dangerous because they stop reacting and start calculating. I had evidence. I had a motive. I had timing. What I needed now was spectacled. Affairs don't destroy people. Exposure does. Most cheaters don't actually fear guilt. They fear witnesses. So I built witnesses. I told Evan I had to go out of town for a long weekend to help my sister paint her new house. That was believable because my sister is chaotic enough to ask for such favors. Sarah didn't know that, but Evan did. And that was enough. I made sure my suitcase was visible, my travel bag was packed, and I wore airport clothes for authenticity. I kissed him goodbye at 3 p.m. on a Friday, then I pretended to drive away. I didn't go far. I parked 3 streets down, behind a row of hedges. I waited 15 minutes, 30, 40-5, at 4:12 p.m. Sarah's car pulled up. Of course it did. Predictability is the love language of cheaters. I recorded everything. License plate, time stamp, entry time. No one could explain that, but I still didn't go in. Not yet. Nobody gets away with betrayal without losing something meaningful. For Sarah, humiliation was currency. For Evan, consequences were. So I invited both of them.
I called his sister first.
She adored me. Though I walked on water, she picked up on the second ring. "Hey, what's up? I need you to swing by the house. Urgent. No explanation." Just come. She heard my tone. She didn't ask questions. Then I called Sarah's boyfriend. Well, the most recent one. The man was already suspicious of her. Turns out being a chronic cheater makes you sloppy in every relationship, not just mine. When I told him, if you want the truth about Sarah, come to my house right now. He didn't even ask for an address. He'd been there enough. Then I waited for my key witness, the one who didn't know. She was about to become a witness, my best friend's mom. I texted her, I need you please, seriously. Moms don't ignore serious. Nadakas was assembled, but we needed the director.me. I walked into my house at exactly 5:03 p.m. Cheaters rarely expect you early. They expect guilt-free time before guilt kicks in. I didn't kick the door open. I didn't scream. I opened it quietly. Silent entrances are scarier predators. Know this. The house smelled like vanilla musk. Again, that perfume should be a crime. The living room was empty. The kitchen was empty. The bathroom was empty. I didn't need to check the guest room, I already knew. The door was cracked open. Clothes on the floor. His shirt, her bra, her shoes, his belt. I didn't go in. I stepped aside and let the others arrive. His sister froze first. Are you kidding me? Then Sarah's boyfriend. Oh my God. Oh my God. I knew it. Then her ma. Please tell me that's not my daughter. I could have gone in alone, but this was better. Witnesses make truth undeniable. I knocked once. Firm. Not frantic. Silence. Then whispering. Then I panicked. Then the sound of scrambling. Bodies and clothing being thrown on in the dark. The door opened. Sarah fist. Hair messy. Lip gloss smeared. Eyes wide like she'd been caught committing a crime she didn't believe had consequences. Which, to be fair, is how she lived. Then Evan's shirt. Backward. Face pale. No dimples. No jokes. No charm. He opened his mouth to speak, but I cut him off. No, you don't get to talk yet. The silence was cinematic. Sarah's mom broke first. Are you insane? That's your best friend's husband. Sarah stuttered. It wasn't what I asked. Intentional, planned, ongoing. Pick one. I have data for all three. Then Evan tried the classic script. It didn't mean anything. I laughed. Actually, I laughed hard. It broke him more than screaming would have. You don't risk your marriage and her friendship for nothing. Nothing has a 3-year timeline. His sister gasped. Her mom gasped. Her boyfriend said, 3 years? And there it was. Their affair didn't start the night I suspected. It started before my wedding. The laughter at the dinner party wasn't new behavior. It was tradition. Evan tried to recover. We were confused. We didn't want to hurt you. Confused people don't synchronize lies, I said. They confess. You had 3 years to confess. Then Sarah tried the sympathy card. I never meant to steal him. You didn't steal him. I snapped. You shared him like a coward who wanted the perks of loyalty with the thrill of deceit. Her boyfriend let out the lowest, most guttural, most satisfying wow I've ever heard in my life. Then I delivered the line that sealed the humiliation. You know what the funniest part of all this is? I didn't come here to break up my marriage. I came here to end your friendship. Silence again. Perfect silence. Because the confrontation wasn't the ending, it was the prelude. The real revenge wasn't emotional. It was financial, social, and permanent. Most people think revenge is about breaking someone. It's not. It's about letting them break themselves. You just turn on the light so everyone can watch. After the confrontation, there was chaos, tears, apologies, excuses, denials, all the standard cheating theatrics, except I wasn't crying, apologizing, or denying anything. I was done performing heartbreak for people who rehearsed betrayal. Evan tried to chase me down the hall. Babe, please, we can fix this. The word we finally sounded as delusional as it was. We died 3 years ago, I said. I'm just holding the funeral today. I left him, Sarah, her mother, her boyfriend, and his sister inside my house because they had unfinished business with each other. I wasn't part of that anymore. I wasn't the center of their drama. I was the detonator. Hollywood lies about divorce. It isn't papers and tears, it's spreadsheets and strategy. Evan made the mistake of assuming I'd file fast out of rage. Rage makes people sloppy. I wasn't sloppy. I was patient. The first thing I did was freeze our joint accounts legally. Not out of spite, but protection. Cheaters panics bend when they realize consequences are coming. Coochie guilt shopping is a real thing. Second, I called our accountant, the one Evan assumed didn't like me. Plot twist, she adored me. She kept immaculate records, including ones I didn't know existed. Third, I called a divorce lawyer, not just any divorce lawyer, the one my cousin used when she took her ex-husband's lake house, a woman who weaponized alimony like a sport. She asked for evidence. I gave her everything. Screenshots, photos, Venmo, receipts, location data. 3 years worth of infidelity compressed into a folder labeled tax write-off. She said 6 words that made me smile bigger than my wedding day. Oh honey, we're going for the jugular. People think humiliation is petty. It is, but pity can be powerful. I didn't blast them online. As cheap revenge, viral for a day, forgotten by next week. I wanted something that lasts, something permanent and slow burning. So I went local. Sarah's mom handled the family side, her boyfriend handled the friend group, Evan's sister handled the private sphere, and I handled the workplace. Cheaters have no idea how fast a reputation can rot when the truth has receipts. Within 2 weeks, Sarah's friend group iced her. Her boyfriend dumped her publicly. Her mom refused to speak to her. Her yoga studio revoked her. Ambassador status LOL, and the maid of honor from my wedding texted me. Oh my god, I always knew that B*TCH was shady. Evan didn't do much. His co-workers found out because Sarah visited his office once. People connect dots faster when you give them a missing puzzle piece. Suddenly those lunch meetings and late-night deadlines made sense. One co-worker actually asked him, "Dude, was your wife seriously friends with her?" Humiliation isn't loud, it's whispered behind doors they still have to walk through. The divorce settlement wasn't quick. It took months. But the outcome, let's just say loyalty has a price and betrayal has an invoice. I walked away with the house, the car, majority equity in our shared investments, and espousal support. The agreement that made even my lawyer raise her eyebrows, but my favorite win wasn't financial. It was emotional. Because here's the twist they never saw coming. They didn't end up together. People assume the mistress becomes the girlfriend. Wrong. That's a fantasy cheaters tell themselves to justify the destruction. Reality is boring and cruel. Without me as the obstacle, they lost the thrill. Within 3 months of me leaving, they imploded. Why? Because they weren't soulmates, they were co-conspirators. Conspiracies don't survive without an enemy. And the best revenge isn't taking something from someone. It's giving them exactly what they wanted, so they can choke on it. You know those revenge movies where the woman cuts her hair, buys a red dress, and goes clubbing? Cute, not my vibe, but my glow-up wasn't aesthetic. It was existential. I got promoted. I started therapy. I traveled solo. I laughed without wondering if someone was laughing at me. I slept without checking anyone's location. I woke up without justifying my instincts. Freedom is underrated until you taste it. Then it becomes addictive. Dot even tried crawling back once. Of course he did. They always do. He texted me 6 months later. "You look happy. I miss us." I replied, "We never had an us. You had an audience, and I retired from the show." Blocked. Here's the part I didn't expect. Sarah tried to apologize. Not once. Not twice. She sent a 4-paragraph apology email about growth and healing and forgiveness. She ended it with, "I hope one day we can be friends again." I didn't reply. I forwarded it to her mom. Let her deal with the trash. She raised, "If you've ever ignored your instincts because someone told you that you were paranoid, jealous, dramatic, or crazy, don't quote Steve. Down crazy is just what people call you when your suspicion is more accurate than their lies. Trust yourself. Verify everything. And don't ever beg someone to love you when you can make them regret losing you." If you want more twisted true stories like this, drop a more in the comments and tell me if you want sweet revenge or cold revenge next. Because trust me, I've got plenty more where this came from.